The year began with 2 winners in 2 races in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, and Barber Motorsports Park made it 3 for 3 as Dean Martin and Bob McCallion took the checkered flag in their Hagen Racing Mustang. But Barber wasn't without controversy. When push came to shove, the gloves came off and things got hot.
Apparently, big-time Rolex drivers don't like getting passed by a girl in the Mini.
Somebody hits me, I'm going to hit him back, and they're going to do it harder.
Welcome to Continental Tire.
The layout here at VIR could be regarded as old school, a real driver's track, and it's one that produces hectic, high-speed racing. Now that sounds familiar when we talk about the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, doesn't it? And this is round 4 of the season. It is the VIR 200. And we say welcome to VIR, folks. Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader with you here. A lot of people are saying this has been the best start and, boys, could be the best season of Continental Tire Challenge racing that we have seen in many, many years. I would agree with that. As you saw at the top of the show, we've had 3 different winners from the first 3 races. But, Cal, some of the bigger names, some of the more experienced drivers haven't capitalised yet and gone to victory lane, have they?
They haven't. When you look at the GS point standings right now, the top 6 drivers in the championship have yet to see victory lane. They've been very consistent podium finishes. And when you look at the race winners this year, they've backed up with a poor result somewhere along the way. So they haven't really shown that consistency. And that's pretty normal in this championship, Dorsey. There's a lot of confrontation out there, a lot of controversy going on this year.
And a lot of the reason for that is a vast amount of cars that enter in these 2 classes. We have some 60 cars. You're always going to be in traffic. Running for a championship, you want to stay out of trouble? You can't. People are going to get mad, like you saw in our video up front. It's going to happen here today, too.
Absolutely. We saw it at Barber a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? All right, let's move on and let's show you, because Dorsey mentioned the vast array of cars. What about the vast array of manufacturers? And here are our top representatives throughout the field of the various marques. Jack Roush Jr., the best of the field and the best for the Blue Oval boys, that's for sure. Steve Cameron is back racing, and he was the highest qualifying BMW. And you see the various representatives with John Potter in 15th, the best of the Porsche brigade. But more about Ford, and we say hi to Chris Neville.
Well, the Ford Mustang has won the last 2 rounds, but it hasn't been the new Boss 302. It's been the older style GT car. Now, Multimatic's new Boss 302 has led a lot of laps and also started on the front row in each weekend, but speed hasn't been the problem. Fuel consumption has been. Can this team keep the car out front? Can they get the mileage they need today to hopefully get a first victory for the Boss?
We will see. They saw an opportunity go by at Barber Motorsports Park and perhaps even Homestead, but more to the point, several weeks ago in Alabama. Let's switch gears to the ST class, 2 classes of racing, and here are our various representatives in qualifying and the manufacturers. And look at Vijay Zacharias for RSR Motorsports. The Mini got a draft from its teammate and did a mighty job. Best of the VWs, Tiburis and Adam Burrows for Kia, one of the new cars in the field. With more about ST, we say hi to Brian Till.
Well, hey, Lee, you know, the winner of the last 2 rounds in the ST division has been the number 25 Freedom Autosport Mazda MX-5 of Tom Long and Derek Whitus. Today, though, they start a little further back, their worst qualifying of the year in 8th. But as Tom Long pointed out, hey, we're still running better than we did here last year. And that whole team, they are spectacular this week. And all 3 cars will start in the top 10. And it could be another very good day for the Mazdas here at VIR.
We look forward to that. We look forward to the race at this track. All of the Continental Tire competitors love racing at VIR. Let's take a closer look with the Kia track map, Dorse.
And one of the reasons everybody loves this place is it's huge, 3.27 miles, and it's got 17 corners. Now, I should say it's a very high-speed track, but there's a low-speed end and a high-speed end. The tightest areas are right down in here, between turns 3, 4, 5, etc. But then as you leave 5A and you start going up through here, what we call the S's, this makes a driver. I tell you what, you really, really have to go fast up through there, flat out, and there's only room for 1car at a time. It's a pretty cool track. These guys love it.
This is the one and only visit to Virginia International Raceway for the Continental Tire Challenge this year. Cal, this race has typically been a multi-hour, 6-hour race at the end of each season, so this is more of a sprints format, isn't it?
It really is going to put the pressure on. You've got to really execute here today. You're going to probably see 1 pit stop, maybe 2 for the GS cars, so you've got to be really spot on with your strategy. We've certainly seen some victories lost this year by teams not quite getting it right.
Dorsey, at the beginning of the day, everyone was saying, oh, what about the Continental Tire race later this afternoon? Weather's going to impact it. Here's the updated weather, but so far, so good. It looks all right.
It looks great right now, but as the day goes on, we're going to go further and further into the possibility of showers, and this is a very slippery racetrack when it's wet.
Jack Roush Jr. denied Joe Foster his third consecutive pole position by 1,000th of a second. It was quite the qualifying effort. Let's roll through our onboard cameras for you. And the Kia Forte Coupe from Kinetic and Nick Johnson, Andy Lally. Freedom Autosport boys, Derek Whitus and Tom Long. 2 victories to these guys. They don't lead the ST points, but they are rapidly climbing the order with those 2 victories. They have been one of the teams to beat in ST racing this weekend. And Andrew Carbonell has a new co-driver this weekend. Mark Pombo joins the Freedom Autosport team in the Mazda MX-5. So there's some onboard cameras for you. Let's get ready to roll up front. It's an all Mustang front row. You got one of the older versions, one of the newer versions. Roush Jr. is in the red car, car 61, the Roush Performance Mustang. Let's see what he can do. He and Billy Johnson have enjoyed victory this year so far. Ready to roll, and you know we're going to see action today here at VIR.
See left foot brake in there by the front runners, trying to hold the power again until they get the green. There goes front row Joe. Joe Foster leaps to the front.
Multimatic really want to make up for this Dorse for them error at Barber Motorsports Park.
Got a great jump on Jack Roush Jr. right there in the red Mustang, and in behind him and slotting. Oh, getting tight.
Oh, this is going to get tight. The Mustang takes to the grass. Good move there by that driver. There wasn't enough room, so Foster leads from Jack Roush Jr. There's Steve Cameron in the 4-line BMW.
Brett Seafuse in the dark blue Mustang sits in 4th place. All right, let's talk ST because you've got BJ Zacharias in the RSR Mini on the left of your screen alongside Zach Lutz, who has done a wonderful job for Compass 360 Racing. You've got some Mazdas tucked in behind. Green flies for the ST class as well. Will the Mini have the legs down the straight to stay ahead?
Look for Eric Voss there, starting 3rd in that Mazda speed car. He looks to the middle of the 2 front row starters, and there's Mark Pombo in the Mazda, tucks into 4th. Nice job. Oh, he touches him. Gives Eric Foster a little nudge there as they go through 2.
Although they are different cars, the Speed 3 and the MX-5, it's the same team. Freedom Autosport. Zacharias did have enough to stay ahead of Zach Lutz. So the Mini continues to lead class. Meanwhile, it's getting tighter.
BJ Zacharias on the Mini got the jump, but he really almost didn't get the run down in turn 1. So I suspect he won't have straightaway speed. Of course, with a boxy car like that, it's not the most aerodynamic car out there.
That Mazda Speed 3 has been very quick indeed, but one of the biggest problems with it is fuel mileage. It runs a stock ECU, and when you get to full throttle on it, the engine management system says we need to protect the turbo, so it dumps a lot of fuel in, doesn't get the mileage that the MX-5 gets. What you're going to find is you'll definitely see 2 stops for that Mazda Speed 3 today. That is its Achilles heel right now.
Talking to the Mazda people here this weekend, they said the ECU, even though we're on the phone to Japan, we cannot unlock the code to that machine, and that really, as you said, Brian, uses a lot of fuel, and also they've found when it gets up into the high gears, actually backs off the throttle as well, so we're losing top line speed. We don't have the fuel efficiency, but through the corners and under braking, the car is really performing well.
You'll see another Mazda Speed 3 there back. It's the red one, the 03 Team MER, as we climb aboard the Kia. And we ride here.
And you know what's right in front there, don't you? That is the Mini that got together at Barber.
Yes, Sarah Catania is in the mix.
She just moved out. She just took over a position at the end of the straightaway there. Here comes one of the Irish Mike's cars.
Ooh, it's going to get tight. We're going to see this all day long. No one wants to give an inch.
Great ST racing on the opening lap. And we're getting a report that the 6 Sunoco Camaro has spun. Boy, it's been a tough weekend for this Team Stevenson. And this car has gone through 2 blown engines. And the crew, spare a thought for the Stevenson squad. They have worked overtime here at VIR this weekend.
That's Matt Bell, and one of those engines was due to a missed gear shift and an over rev. Let's take a look and see what happens to Matt. He's working the outside there.
He's just in the marbles door.
We just got done with a Grand Am Daytona prototype and GT race, and the racetrack is very, very dirty offline as a result. No time to clean it up, and that was the result of getting offline.
Joe Foster, Steve Cameron, Brett Cephus. 1, 2, 3. That begs the question, what has happened to car number 61? Where is Jack Roush Jr.? The red machine is nowhere to be seen. Still waiting, still no sign. We have lost the Roush performance car somewhere.
That is a disaster. There he is. He's right in amongst the ST cars, so he must have had an off or a quick visit to pit lane, because he is well down the order. He has got a lot of work to do. We talked about it. Being consistent in the championship has not been the strong suit of the race winners this year.
They're used to coming through the field because Jack Roush Jr. and Billy Johnson were forced to drive from the back of the GS field at Homestead Miami Speedway at the season's second round. But for Multimatic, the new Boss 302, it's all looking great out front for Joe Foster. Steve Cameron not planning on doing a huge stint in this race. He will hand over to Rob Finlay. Meanwhile, the catch-up begins, and boy, is Jack Roush Jr. buried.
Of course, when he did this at Homestead, that's a roval, part oval and part road course. A lot easier to make passes there than it will be here on VIR on this road course.
Turner 96 is in as their dramas at the front. Brian can tell us.
Some type of a contact. You can see a little donut on the left rear of the 96. Dalalana did not get the qualifying that he wanted. In fact, went off and damaged the suspension on this car a little bit, so they had to do some work on it, so they started back towards the back. And we also understand the team car has some damage on it as well. So for right now, not a good day for Turner Motorsports here in Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge from VIR as the 96 sits up on the jack. Chris?
Well, just checked in with the Roush group, and the problem was the throttle pedal was sticking in that car, so they had to dive to pit lane in those early laps and get it unstuck at the throttle body. Right now, the car seems to be working well, but obviously they are mired way, way back.
I think right now he's just got to be patient. He needs a yellow. He needs to clear this ST field, catch a break with a caution, and get back with the GS cars, excuse me.
It would be hard to believe that we wouldn't get a caution with all these cars on this racetrack at the same time. So patience, Jack, patience.
And his dad has made the trip over from Talladega to watch his son and Billy Johnson. We'll see how they fare, and the rest of the Continental field, they're all chasing one man. It's Joe Foster. Speed's coverage of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is presented by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. Brought to you in part by the Kia Forte Coupe. It's one hot ride. And by AC/DC Iron Man 2, the album. Available everywhere now. And this is where we are now. We are right on the North Carolina-Virginia border for the VIR 200. This is round 4 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2010 at a real driver's favorite track for sure. To give you a little bit of an overview of how things stand, let's show you coming in here. Just a 2-point margin for Terry Borchella and Andrew Hendricks over the sister 4-line BMW of Charles Putnam and Espen Laub. And then you go back to yet another BMW and Michael Marcel and Joey Hand. So things are nice and tight at the top of the GS Championship. And in ST, it's a little loose, more loose, I should say. 10 points separating Lawson Aschenbach and David Telenius over Seth Thomas and Bill Human. And speaking of the Bimmer World car, there's some adversity to talk about this weekend. When we went to the break, this man here, Joe Foster, he was the one being chased. At the moment, he is playing catch-up. Joe is down at the bottom of the top 10, and this is the reason why.
There we go, down into turn 1. Look at Chris Hall from the 3rd position. Makes a move there on the BMW, but didn't have any room left when he got to the apex where the leader, Joe Foster, was. Bit optimistic there, just too much speed.
He was on brake as hard as he could, but it wasn't enough.
He'd have probably made the corner, but obviously not the best of judgments there.
So that leaves Steve Cameron in the lead of this race in the 4-line BMW, the 46 machine. As we were coming into the track this morning, we saw Steve. We said, there's life in the old dog yet, huh? And he said, absolutely.
The flying Kiwi.
He's giving it a good thrashing through the S's. You saw him jumping the curb back there.
And he's got a handy buffer over a second over Brett Cephus, who is the best of the Mustang Brigade. Charles Putnam is next in the next 4-line BMW. Then Bob McCallion, who is our most recent round winner from Barber. And, of course, he partners with Dean Martin in the Rehagen team, and Chris Hall has brought the Kinetic BMW to pit lane. Brian can tell us more.
Well, the 79 up on jack stands right now, and the crew going to work. It looks like they're going to adjust some front suspension here. Crewman with a wrench underneath there trying to look at what it is that he's working at. Trying to get that suspension sorted out. Look like it could be a steering arm or something like that, but any way you look at it, the longer you sit here on pit road, further behind you get. Chris?
Well, John Heinrichs is the technical director on the Subaru road racing team. And John, you guys are coming off a top 10 finish from Barber. Now, you've engineered a lot of front-wheel drive cars and rear-wheel drive cars, but this is the first time with a four-wheel drive car. What have some of the challenges been?
Well, it's a particular challenge for me with all-wheel drive because I haven't driven it or haven't spent any time working on those technically before. So that's a challenge with the learning software that's able to do all-wheel drive predictions. I haven't done that before, so that's a challenge. I like the challenge of trying to keep up with the Mustangs and the BMWs here. You know, we're the only four-cylinder car in the field with a turbo. We have to push it. The all-wheel drive, we think it is an advantage, especially in the wet. So we're really looking forward to the challenge of keeping up with these guys.
Well, and also, John, ever the engineer said, you know, we got this car right before the season started, and really the real challenge has been just time. It would have been nice to have it 6 months before the season started.
And they were praying for rain here today. I spoke to Andrew over the course of the weekend. He said, boy, we're just going to go to the front. But he said there's other all-wheel drive cars in the field as well. The Audi, they're going to be strong also. But the team is just really developing things nicely. They feel it's just a little bit down on straightaway speed right now, but the handling is obviously good.
And how can we forget what happened to this car and Andrew Aquilante, who's not behind the wheel right now. It's Brett Spouty, who's doing a nice job in ninth. But let's rewind the clock a few weeks. Let's go back to Barber Motorsports Park and show you one of the most spectacular moments you will ever see. Look further back on the screen. Here it comes, sideways. Boing, boing, boing. There's about 4 hops there. And Andrew, that was the ride of his life, did a great job to save it.
I tell you what, that had Calvin and I laughing like crazy. That was the biggest wreck I ever didn't see happen.
And he said, I just got so sideways, and then he thought, I just got a full power, and it just pulled him straight, and away he went. That was a beautiful job of saving it.
You know, to his benefit, he never gave up on it, did he? I mean,
right.
things were looking pretty bleak in my eyes, but I mean, he made it get through.
Talking about winners in Continental Tire Challenge, we're on board with Derek Whitus, who has won 2 races of the 3, and our first round winner, David Telenius, is right ahead, and he is the championship leader in the ST class. So 2 of the top runners here fighting it out for a top 5 position.
Talking to Telenius and his teammate Aschenbach this morning, they said we're just really worried about tyre wear. We really start to lose the front end of the car on the longer runs at Barber. We expect the same here. However, we're now going to the part of the season and the racetracks where the Honda should certainly shine.
And there's been a change at the top of this class. BJ Zacharias has just lost the lead to Zach Lutz. So the sister car to the orange one we're looking at, the other Compass 360 Honda, is now leading the way. It's got by the RSR Mini. Look at this mad scramble here. This is what Continental Tire Racing is all about. There's Ian Boss in the APR Audi, and Ian is currently running 7th.
And like I said at the beginning, when you're trying to win a championship, you've got 2 classes, a lot of different cars, a lot of different kinds of drivers, and you get into these big freight trains of race cars. Oh, trouble there. That was Jack Roush going by that in 61 Mustang. I don't know if they, Paul Dall'Anna and him touched or not. It kind of was happening when we saw it.
It's been an eventful start to this race for both Turner Motorsport BMWs. No obvious damage to the 96 E92 BMW. Here's Jack Roush Jr. on the inside.
Yeah, boy, Calvin, what do you think?
Well, he just touched the rear end of the BMW, and you're so committed there. I mean, any extra force and any side load in the car is just going to turn you around. And the BMW just couldn't get through the corner. So it's a wild, hairy ride down through that section of the racetrack.
Speaking of BMW, a BMW leads the way at the hands of Steve Cameron, Seafuse, Putman, Michaelian, and Frankie Montecalvo has now got up into the top 5. Good running. Is there a big storm brewing in the open plains as the world's toughest trucks head to America's heartland? I would say so. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Kansas tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and that is live. Exciting stuff. So too is this. We're talking Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, 2-class racing, GS and ST, and we've got a new leader, Brett Seafuse, who has been pretty much Mr. Excitement for the last handful of laps, because that car has been going one side to the other, sideways through the S's up the hill, and he has done a terrific job to remain in the top 3. Then he was second for a long period of time and finally got past Steve Cameron. The 13 run bump BMW just ahead of him has recently pitted. Gian Baccardi took the car from 24th to 16th before giving it to Matt Plum, so it's trying to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, and ideally for that team, they need a caution so that Matt Plum essentially makes up 7/8 of a lap towards the lead pack. But right behind these guys, there's a fierce battle going on. And here we see Jill Foster in recovery mode. Had that bump down in turn 1 right in this area when Chris Hill got to the inside. And 46, Steve Cameron has just turned it into pit out the wrong way around, so something's gone amiss with that BMW. That's very rare for this 4-line Autosport team.
It certainly is, and this was the car that led the majority of the race. Joe Foster's been the man on the move from 9th up to 2nd, but what has gone wrong for Steve Cameron and the 4-line Mobile Shop BMW? Poor old Rob Finlay won't even get a chance to get behind the wheel.
What a job Joe Foster has done there, driving his way back through this field. Now all the way up to 2nd spot, chasing down Brett Seafuse. So it's boss versus boss in terms of the Mustangs. And look at these cars later into the stint, how sideways they get up through the S's, Dorsey.
We've been laughing at Seafuse because, you know, just like Lee said, he's using from side to side everything out there. He's using curbs, he's using dirt, using grass. But it's a blast to watch these guys. They're just really throwing them around.
Let's get the update on Steve Cameron, Chris.
Well, I just talked to Jim Bell, who's in charge on that team, and he said, it's the engine, guys. It's done.
And he gets towed off there, so kind of a smart thing after it let go. He got it off the racetrack. Now, this isn't good. 96 just nose into the barrier. No damage, it doesn't look like.
Boy, it's been an eventful day for Turner Motorsport. Paul Dall'Anna has been in the wars and finally gets the car going. And look how beaten up that left-hand side is, front and rear.
Now, if it does rain, he would have never gotten out of there, Calvin, because it's so slippery when you get off here. We'll take a look and see what happens. It's a downhill run.
Wow, car's at totally the wrong attitude, Dorsey. So I don't know if he got sideways in the corner before, which just got him offline and never got the car turned. I think that's coming through Hogpin, not in the front straightaway.
Now, once you're in this grass, even in the dry, there's not a lot of saving. These corners here are all medium to high-speed corners. There's not a lot of slow area. So now another bumper cover getting ready to fall off on the racetrack.
Paul's in his 2nd full season of racing, and he is certainly not afraid to have a go, to really go quick and get aggressive. But he's still on a fairly steep learning curve, but doing a good job. From GS to ST to Andrew Carbonell.
Well, we talked about how strong Freedom Autosport was at the beginning of the show. Andrew Carbonell, you and your teammate Mark Pombo running 2nd right now. Mark's a new teammate for you. You've been sharing this car with Red Odosky. How difficult is it to get a new teammate in and get into a rhythm?
Well, Mark is a great driver. He drove here with us last year, so it's actually not that hard to get him back up to pace. He was right up to it, and within 5 laps, he gave us a great qualifying run, qualified 4th, and he's fighting for the lead out there now. So I can't be happier with his performance.
I know you're 4th in the championship, so certainly good to see your teammate doing well. This Mazda MX-5 seems to run well everywhere, whether it's one of the big Rovals or the tighter courses like in Barber. What makes it so good? What makes this MX-5 so good?
I think what makes it good is just how well it works everywhere. You know, we will lose a little bit on the straightaways, but every track's got to have a corner, and we got the brakes and the cornering abilities to really make it happen. The Mazda it's a great car. This MX-5 it's fantastic.
It's fantastic, and I understand we've gone full course caution here at VIR.
We have, and if you thought things were exciting enough as it was, and as soon as that interview finished, the team came and grabbed Andrew Carbonell and said, get ready, get your helmet on, get kitted up, because you're going to be in the car right now.
Yeah, we're over 41 minutes into this race, so any driver who hops out, haven't started, will certainly have sufficed the 30-minute rule to get driver points here today. And he talked about his teammate, Mark Pombo. He's had success here in the past. He won the VW Jetta Cup here back in 2008.
Top 4 cars overall are Mustangs. The first non-Mustang is the Audi of Ian Boss for APR in 5th. We are back at VIR, and the Multimatic Mustang is on pit road.
Joe Foster, what a job he did there, and it's going to be Scotty Maxwell taking over behind the wheel. These guys have started from the front row in the first 4 events of this championship season. but yet to get that win they're looking for. The car is fast, though. Just got to wait and see how this strategy plays out. Not everyone has hit pit lane here.
Yeah, the 37 car did not come to pit lane. That team throwing their arms up saying that pits should not be open because the leader hadn't caught up to the pace car. So they're saying that the pit lane right now should not be open, but everybody else came in because they heard Grand Am say pits are open.
Wow.
And Joe Foster should be very proud of his drive. After getting nailed by Chris Hall in turn 1, he dropped to 9th, came back up to 2nd. And this is the JBS team that are furious with the situation right now. But if Grand Am made the call that pits are open, pits are obviously open. Emotions running high, and understandably so, because the 37 is out in the lead. However, the Multimatic has been serviced. The Boss 302 has gone. Joe Foster handing over to Scott Maxwell. We'll see if today can be the day that the former champs get their victory.
Well, they realize, the team, the reason they're so upset and frustrated is that these kind of issues are insurmountable in terms of getting back with the strategy. I mean, you've got to be able to make the right calls, and they just feel they are really, you know, put in a situation they thought they had to catch up to the pace car before the pit lane would be open. Supposedly the Grand Am official had made the call to all of the teams, pit lane is open, and hence you saw the 15 car on and 37 continued. So this is a big moment in this race.
Believe that the Hagen guys got caught out as well. The 52 was set up to make the stop, but they did not come when all the other GS cars did. So looks like they ran afoul of radio communication with the officials as well, and it's going to cost them. It's like you said, Calvin, it's hard to give up that position and get it back.
Another pace car gets around what remains the GS leader in this race. But he, of course, has not hit pit lane. Essentially, if he comes in now, well, the other problem he's into, I mean, I'm not sure he can come in this lap because this should be ST's. If GS won the lap before, yeah, he's not even allowed to come in this lap. There's a procedure where it's GS cars only on the first lap, followed by ST on the next lap, then it's open on the third lap.
Chris?
Well, Jim Cephus owns the 37 car, and Jim, what happened there?
Well, they never picked up the lead car. Brett is the lead car, and they've never picked him up. The rules say that you cannot pit a GS class until the pace car's picked up the lead car. They just picked him up just now, and everybody's pitted.
Just saw you talking with one of the officials. What was the outcome?
He's going to find out.
Well, hopefully common sense will prevail here. If the series believes that they made a mistake, they will try and somehow legitimize the move and try and get the 37 back into the action, but that's going to take a lot of maneuvering now.
Yeah, it will when it goes this far into it. You know, the longer this goes, more and more cars get pitted and so forth while the arguing continues.
ST pit stops now. Thumbs up for the Compass 360 boys. And the 75 first there. Zach Lutz did a great job. Ryan Eversley is climbing behind the wheel. And Telenius and Aschenbach, it's their turnaround. Brian, what do you have?
I just checked in with Dean Martin. There was a lot of confusion on the part of the team, at least that's what it looked like. And I talked to Dean, he said, no, we didn't want to come on that first lap. The 52, we're not anywhere close to our window, so we're going to wait on that. And the 59 has damage on it, so we wanted to let him catch up to the pack as much as he could because we're going to have to spend some time on pit lane working about it. There was a lot of discussion going on, and I thought that they had made the mistake, but indeed it was a well-planned and well-orchestrated move on the part of Dean Martin and the rest of the Ray Hagen crew.
The lights are off on the pace car.
And does that orange 52 Mustang look familiar? It should. It was the winner from Barber Motorsports Park, Bob McCallion, in a very strong position again. Tonight, NASCAR Race Day races into Richmond for some short track excitement. JR, Kyle and Kenny will give you the ultimate setup, and Wendy and Hermie catch up with the drivers moments before. Yes, we typically see sparks fly at Bristol. That's NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, and it's live from Richmond tonight at 5 Eastern. All right, we're ready to go racing, and the 37 JBS Mustang is at the front. Look at that Audi in third. How will it go? How will it get the jump? Dave Russell is there in that pink BMW for automatic racing, and there's a Sunoco Camaro in there as well. Look at the Audi. It's a drag race down to one. Ian Boss has got the outside line. He's got around Bob McCallion, and there's a lap car involved, the 46 4-line BMW.
That's Rob Finley. I think they've repaired that car and got him back out there, and he's trying to stay on that lead lap as he comes out of pit lane.
This is great progress that's been made with this APR Audi. Very early in its Continental racing life, but doing a great job.
Let me correct that. Wouldn't be the lead lap for that car, but certainly not going an additional lap down there behind the pit wall for many laps. But this is certainly a car that has really come to life of late. Ian Boss behind the wheel, sharing it with Jordan Taylor once again, who put in a tremendous performance on his debut with the team at Barber Motorsports Park. But the top 8 cars currently out there did not take a pit stop there during that first caution of the race.
Yeah, and talking with that team this weekend, a lot of the success that they're having right now comes down to the driver Mike Halpin, who's been with them this year. And what's been going on there is Mike's been tuning the shocks on not only the Audi but also the VWs, and he's been doing a great job. This is just something he's kind of done on the side since the mid-90s, because Mike is actually a consulting engineer, and for quite a while worked with NASA as a consultant, and obviously loves racing and knows what he's doing with shocks.
And the team changing the strategy. Oh, massive crash. The 79 Kinetic BMW is in there. Is there a Freedom Autosport Mazda involved? One of the Irish Mike's VW is involved. This is huge. It's the 2-time race-winning 25 Freedom Autosport car of Derek Whitus and Tom Long.
I was afraid of that being the car that was there, full course obvious.
And that's a disaster for those boys in the thick of the ST Championship battle. There's the 79 machine that Chris Hall took momentarily to the lead here today down in turn 1, but a lot of damage there right now.
And I think that's Dr. Chris Prasinski behind the wheel. It is. Chris has taken over from Chris Hall. Oh, major damage on that car. Here's the Irish Mike's VW.
Boy, look at the back of that one, boys. I mean, it's completely gone.
Todd had done a terrific job. He got that car up as high as 2nd in class, and Derek Whitus was 3rd. So did those guys get together and Chris Prasinski was a passenger? Who knows? But this is disastrous for Whitus and Long and their championship aspirations.
It really is. There's some very high-speed parts of this racetrack, and if someone comes back across the racetrack, look like that may have happened. Look at the front end of that.
I think that's
MX-5.
taken a really big hit. He's the only driver, I think, that really hasn't moved around all that much yet. Left front for sure is hit hard.
And at this moment we think about the driver's safety and welfare, and we hope that Derek Whitus is okay. We saw him moving around in the cockpit. Here is our first replay. We ride with Whitus. Gives Buras a tap.
Oh, the hand.
That was a big one.
Krasinski was just sideways in the middle of the road. Then he takes another big one.
That was one of the minis.
Yeah, that's not even in that 3-car shot that we saw with cars stranded.
Watch this.
Oh, look at the Kias get around there. Unbelievable job by both Kias to get through there.
Oh. Was it one of the minis or one of the, it was one of the APR VWs.
Watch this guy.
Oh, that is a violent, violent crash.
And it's not the first time we've seen it at that part of the track here at VIR. My memory goes back to the Rolex series many years ago. Court Wagner was involved in a very scary accident there.
There's one of the cars that made secondary impact.
That is, and let's go to the Freedom Autosport cam, because this was frightening stuff, Brian.
Truly frightening indeed. You actually see Derek Whitus climbing out of that Mazda right now. And Tom Long, we talked about how strong this team was, the good run that you guys were having up there towards the front of the championship, and now something like this. First of all, did you guys talk to Derek on the radio?
Yeah, he's okay. It's just unfortunate. I think one of the cars was sideways in that blind corner, South Bend, and unfortunately our Mazda has good handling, but just can't avoid a incident that's right in front of him, and I think he just T-boned him, and I think we're out with a bunch of other cars, so it's frustrating.
I know we've got some time between the next round. What's it take to build up one of these cars if indeed you have to build a new one?
Well, our Freedom Autosport guys are really good. These Mazda chassis, we can put them back together, and we'll be fighting for the next round. You know, just got to thank the fans for coming out today, and we're going to keep at it with the Mazda Championship, so we'll work hard for it.
No quit down here. Still a smile on his face, but you can tell absolutely gutted during that interview, guys.
And understandably so. They've won 2 from the 3 races so far. Our thoughts are with Dr. Chris Prasinski, who was in the 79 Kinetic BMW. This is his first full season of racing at this level, and he was just stranded. He was there and got collected by those cars at full speed.
Says so much for the safety equipment of those cars. Those, like you said, Calvin, were absolutely huge impacts between car-to-car contact.
And the cleanup begins, and the scale of it is large. Let's show you one more time We need to go to break while we're under full caution. Nasty, nasty stuff. And we will have the follow-up on the other side. The safety crew, the paramedics and corner workers have done a great job in cleaning this huge wreck up here at VIR. We're under full course yellow, and let's show you exactly what happened. Chris Prasinski in the Kinetic BMW spins up ahead. We ride here with Mark Pombo, who does a very good job to miss him. However, what happens behind is chaotic. We ride with the sister Freedom Autosport Mazda, and look what happens to Derek Whitus.
Oof. Basically blinded there by Todd Burris right in front of him. Todd makes an evasive maneuver. Derek flicks to the left side, and Chris was just sitting in the middle of the road.
And that final piece of contact involved the new 91 car. That is the new Mark 6 GTI VW from APR. So heavy contact all round. Brian?
Well, when you see an impact like that, it is amazing to know that the drivers stepped out of those vehicles, and they're certainly going to be checked for injuries. But let's take a look at the Turner Motorsport BMW. I'll take you around a Continental Tire sports car, challenge car, kind of give you an idea of why they're safe. They're unibody cars, just like you would drive on the street. When you look inside this BMW, you can see the chassis in there, but what you also see is this racing seat bolted firmly to the floor. You also see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the other lap belt makes 6 seat belts to hold the driver in. Then these window nets come up. They lock in place, and in fact, the Grand American Series requires that you have 2 of them to make sure that the driver is well protected inside the car. Once the door gets closed, the driver's off and going. But the other critical piece of safety equipment, the driver's helmet. And these days, every driver wears a Hans device. You see that helmet attached to the Hans device. The belts go over it. They hold it down on the driver's shoulders. And then these straps here attached to the helmet keep the helmet from moving too far, the head from moving too far in one of those severe impacts. The driver's radio plug plugs in, but you've also heard us talk about driver's ID. This is the driver ID plug that plugs in. It's just a little resistor. It's not electronic itself, but that tells the officials who's in the car.
Thanks for that, Brian. Great stuff, and Grand Am has done a wonderful job in making the drivers and this series safe. We're ready to go racing after a lengthy stop. The Continental Tire Challenge Series, 4th round. Here we go. And it is still the 37 of Brett Cephus at the front, ahead of the first of many 4-line BMWs, with Charles Espenlaub, who has taken over. Scott Maxwell's in the mix in the 15, and the 9 is there as well of Hugh Plum.
Yeah, and it's going to get pretty ugly here as everyone tries to get back into a rhythm. Very surprised here that the 37 car did not pit. We've got about an hour and 16 minutes to go. That should put them in their fuel window, and they have yet to see pit lane here today.
Well, they've got to be banking on more yellows. The only thing we can figure about that.
But the problem is, Dorsey, some of these teams might be able to stretch it without another stop, and if anyone needs a splash, they're going to be a lot faster on pit lane. So we talked about that miscue under the caution period where they decided to stay out because they didn't think that they'd caught the pace car up and the pit lane wasn't open. They're still trying to rebound from that issue.
That's quite a big rebound to make the longer we go in this race.
Gee, there's some good drivers in this front-running pack. Charles Espenlaub chasing Brett Cephus, Scott Maxwell, Hugh Plum, Lee Keane, Ted Anthony, Craig Stanton, Gunnar Jeanette, Joey Hand, Guy Cosmo. What a top 10. Pressure's on. This is Espenlaub going for the lead. Really putting the pressure on. Brett Cephus at Oak Tree Bend. And now let's see what will unfold as they stretch their legs. Scotty Maxwell pulls out, and he's looking to go up to 3rd and Clive even higher. But Cephus is unfazed up front.
Yeah, he's just got his head down. He just needs to keep clicking the laps off, go as fast as he can, and try and create a big enough margin where he can maybe make a pit stop and not get too penalized. Oh, he's very slow through there, and Espenlaub on much fresher tires is starting to put the heat on. He wants to go to the front.
That's going to be the issue now, Calvin. The tires, like you say, Cephus not coming in for any fuel or tires. He is going to be hanging on for a thread.
Charles Espenlaub is in the championship race, not only in this race, but he is in the championship race. And the car that he is fighting is the sister 4-line BMW, the 45. However, that car with Terry Borchella now behind the wheel is down in 18th place.
Here comes Espenlaub. He looks to the inside, thinks better off it. Not close enough to take advantage under braking, but I think Cephus is really struggling for grip here. once we've gone back to green. Probably had some pickup on the tires, and they have a lot of time on them as well.
Scott Maxwell is maintaining third place. Hugh Plum in the Sunoco Camaro, which incidentally, there it is right there. It made its debut here at the end of last racing season at the 6 Hour. Here's Charles Espinlaub side by side and right around the outside.
Beautiful.
How about that move from Espinlaub?
A good clean driving there by Brett and allowed him to get away with that one. That was good stuff.
That all happened because Brett Fuse dropped a wheel, got sideways, had to check up a little bit. Espinlaub went inside at 2 corners side by side. Obviously, these two drivers have a lot of respect for each other because it could have been an easy turnaround.
4 new generation of cars in the top 4 positions. The new E92 BMW, this is the V8 BMW, ahead of the new Boss 302 Mustang and the new Chevy Camaro, the Sunoco Chevy Camaro for Stevenson Motorsports.
It's the best we've seen that Camaro run all year. Crowd favorite, I should say, in those colors, that livery, dating way back. Beautiful car.
Hugh Plum has won here a couple of times before, once in GS, one in ST, both times with his brother Matt, so they now get the job done here in a successful hunting ground for the Plum brothers.
Take a look up here. This is the pass for the lead. Watch Brett Fuse. See, drops the wheel. Right wheel has to check up a little bit. Espinlaub takes the opportunity to move inside. When he goes inside, they're going to go through the next corner side by side, door handle to door handle. Here it is. He works to the inside, but there's another corner coming up. And they give each other enough room right here.
They did, because typically when Charles makes that sort of move, the driver will immediately try and take the road away. He didn't do that. He gave Brett some room, and Brett complimented that on the next corner.
And now he is falling into the clutches of Scott Maxwell. Let's go back and talk about that huge crash, and let's talk about ST, and let's catch up with the man who was in the middle of it.
It's great to stand here with Derek Whitus. He smartly removed his FSU hat, replaced it with his Mazda hat. But Derek, seriously, great to see you standing here. Obviously, Mazda makes a good car, but Freedom Autosport put together a very safe one.
Oh, they did. It's one of those times that you hate to lose the points and you hate to see your car tore up, but you're happy to be able to get in the car and walk away. But more importantly, it's nothing compared to those guys that do everything. Right here at the race today, we've got Sergeant Wells in the U.S. Marine Corps, who just returned from Afghanistan 3 days ago, and PFC Tacky, who heads to Afghanistan in 3 weeks to fight for our freedom. Appreciate them being here.
Absolutely. Hooyah, as they would say. Give us an idea. Talk us through what happened.
Well, it's just one of those things. You come over the hill, there was a car sideways. I couldn't see the flags, so I was almost too close to the car in front of me. But in the end, that little Mazda MX-5 powered by LiveLock did what it's supposed to do. It protected us. It's wicked fun and Walt smart.
Great to see him standing here. I told him he's going to be sore tomorrow, and he said, this Greek godlike body? No way.
I like it.
And this is exactly, if you've just joined us, this is what Derek Whitus was talking about. Very, very graphic scenes here. And this is Todd Burris up ahead in the Irish Mike's VW, who was running so well. Got tipped a little sideways, and that's what caused that huge impact. He's been taken to a local medical facility by ambulance for further observation and checks. And we did see Todd get out of the car, but he was holding his chest and rib cage, and he may have some suspected broken ribs. So we'll update you if we hear any more. The race is on at the front, and the big muscle cars are up there. Speed's coverage of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is presented by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. No shortage of confidence out here at VIR today, and we have got a new race leader. It is car 15, the Multimatic Boss 302 Mustang of Scott Maxwell after taking over from Joe Foster. How did he get there? Well, several things occurred, and we'll bring you up to speed. Espinlaub out in front, the 37 JBS Mustang of Brett Fuse in second. Finally, time came where he had to hit pit road.
Well, remember, they had that problem on the first caution where they thought that the pit lane was not open, so they didn't make pit lane then. This is their first pit stop of the day, but meanwhile, big action here, battle over second position.
And how good is this for the fans? I mean, there is the old Mustang inside of Camaro going down side by side. Pass didn't make it, though.
Hugh Plum tried his luck. Scott Maxwell hung tough. Ted Anthony Jr. was sitting right behind. He's put in a terrific drive. And then the Sunoco Camaro had to come in.
Hour and 2 minutes left in the race when they make that pit stop. They did not take tires, I believe. Meanwhile, the leader, Charles Espinlaub, did. Bit of a problem with the rear tire change. They go for all 4 and fuel. that may play into the strategy at the end of this race when everyone's a bit thin on tread.
We have certainly seen how strong the four-line BMWs are, no matter what the number at the end of the race. Will they have enough to get back up and fight with the Mustang? Here's the Continental Tire race summary for you. 4 lead changes, 2 cautions, obviously one quite lengthy one because of that huge crash. All right, let's talk more about the JBS team, and let's go there now with Chris.
Brett Seafuse kept his car out front for most of the first half of this race. But Brett, when we went to that first caution, what happened there? What was all the confusion?
I'm really not sure. Again, we're talking about it, and hopefully nobody's pointing too many fingers, but obviously I assumed the pace car was going to be out in front of me. I'm looking for it. Apparently it came out behind Joe. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I should have slowed up more coming down the front stretch or what, but I mean, the caution was out at the back stretch. I would assume the pace car would have been coming out in front of me, so I'm looking for it in front of me, and it's behind me. Way behind me.
Well, it sounds like when he came down the front straightaway, the pace car did come out of pit lane behind him, but Grand Am is saying that they told him numerous times, you need to fall back behind that pace car. And then when he didn't, Grand Am did open the pit lane, and they did tell the teams on 4 different occasions across the radio that the pits were open. Ryan, what's up?
Down here at Stevenson, Matt Bell is out of that number 6 Camaro. Matt, watch the car come in, make that final stop, and I talked to Mike Johnson. You think you guys are good on fuel till the end?
Maybe. I'm being told maybe. I'm not sure. I did my job to try to conserve fuel every time I could. Maybe. We could use a caution right about now. If you want to cause a crash, that'd be awesome.
Mike Johnson actually told me they were going to run until they needed fuel. Does that mean run it until it stops?
Yeah, we'll stop out there, and then we'll all run out, and then we'll push it back.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Mike said, you're not going to see this car back on pit lane, guys. If they get a caution, they're good. If they don't, well, they'll run as far as they can.
They played the other strategy. Obviously, Hugh Plum came in with the 9 machine. They decided to roll the dice here a little bit with the 6 car and Jeff Buckman behind the wheel that he shares with Matt Bell.
And we spoke earlier about that blown motor, and Jeff Buckman was talking with this morning. He said, I felt so bad for the team and for the guys. It was 100% my fault. So it's the first time I've ever done that, and it was big. And he said, I felt very sorry for the guys who had to put in the extra work. How about the Porsche of Lee Keane? The 44 Magnus Porsche is doing a good job as we go to ST, and it's a pretty good team representation for Carl Thompson's Compass 360 organisation. Ryan Eversley, Lawson Archenbach, 1st and 2nd. It's looking good for the Hondas.
Looking very strong, and of course they had that unbelievable 1-2-3 finish last year in one of the rounds, I believe, it was at New Jersey. But here the competition seems to be a lot tougher this year in ST, and everyone seems to have caught these guys up a little bit, along with some weight penalties middle of last year. Certainly slowed their progress a little bit, but they continue to really work with what is now a very developed car. There's a lot of new cars out there that are gradually showing signs of speed, but these cars are really a good benchmark in this class.
Yeah, Cal, the good thing is they're out front right now. The bad thing is they came in too early, so those cars are going to have to come back to pit lane. They cannot make the distance on fuel, so even with a lot of caution, they are going to have to come back to pit lane and give up the lead they have.
Well, you see the 2 cars are not fighting each other for position, so they're probably in fuel conservation mode. You know, they're just running off as clean as they can these laps. But a lot of teams, Calvin, are playing the one more caution, I think.
Yeah, I don't think, looking at their mileage, they've got 17 laps on the board. We've got 52 minutes to go. And I thought they said the number was about 1 hour 20, so they've got to be pretty close. I mean, I don't think they'd need a lot of yellow right now to really make it to the finish without a splash.
And sitting 3rd is the 181 APR VW of Josh Hurley. Andrew Carbonell is still flying the flag for Freedom Autosport in 4th. And Todd Lamb in the 31 sits in the top 5. So that's how things stand in ST. More ST action, and check this out with Andy Lally in the Kinetic Kia.
I don't think he had much choice there, did he?
Andy's all pumped up because he's just come off a Grand Am Rolex Series race where in his 100th start he won the GT class. So he's all worked up. Check this out, though. The 80 of James Clay goes one way around the Royal Purple Porsche, and Andy says, out of the way, I'm coming through. I'm in a race here.
It gives him a hip check on in air, I think. I don't even think they were on the ground when that happened.
He used that move in his street luge.
So the Kia on fire. These guys have been really encouraged by the improving results in qualifying and in race as well. So Kinetic and Kia forming quite the partnership, and this Forte Coupe is getting better and better. Top 20s turn to top 15s. They want more top 10s now. With a podium, the big goal, perhaps by year's end. Two-time GS champion in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, Scott Maxwell, the likeable Canadian, is just blowing them away out in front. He's got a lead last time around that was 8.2 seconds. That grew from 6.5 seconds the lap before. And this Multimatic Mustang is flying.
Yeah, I have to wonder, though, with when he stopped, whether he'll be good on fuel. We know the Mustang gets pretty good fuel mileage, but kind of sneaky. They're going to need some help with some caution here to make it without a splash for fuel. Car looks good today, though. Joe Foster did an awesome job qualifying on the front row once again. And Scotty Maxwell starting to drift that car around this racetrack. Got to be so careful as the tires start to go away. You don't overdrive. Just burn those rear tires off.
You know, you watch the balance of the car, though. It's such a well-balanced car. It doesn't lead into the corner understeering and then go to oversteer. He's kind of just tossing it around, you know, which means that it's really a well-balanced front to rear car. He's got a lot of confidence in doing that.
Ted Anthony is still second. Jeff Bucknam in the Sunoco Camaro is third. Matt Plum is fourth. So that rum-bum BMW is really climbing the order quite rapidly. There have been some pit stops, though, to assist his cause. This is Ted Anthony Jr., a graduate of the Mustang Challenge Series.
Doing a good job in this Mustang, too. As you see, he also throwing the car around pretty well.
And then there's that slight gap back to Jeff Bucknam, then the first of the BMWs. And it's the rum-bum machine, the 13 of Matt Plum.
And he is the fastest man on the racetrack. He's been running laps in the 203, high 203 range. No one else under the 204. So right now, Matt Plum's got about half a second on the rest of this field as he slices his way towards the front.
This is Jeff Bucknam in the 6. And then he has that margin back to Matt Plum. Updating you on some other drivers. Billy Johnson in the Roush Performance, the 61 Mustang, where we know that it came to pit road early with that throttle problem when Jack Roush Jr. was behind the wheel. Those slowly been picking their way through the field. The 61 with Billy Johnson behind the wheel is now in the top 10. He is 9th at the moment. So, whoa, look at this. Ted Anthony gets all sideways. What a catch. What a save.
Fantastic stuff. It'll allow Jeff here a big run down this front straightaway. Can the Camaro take advantage of that slip coming through Hogpen? Here he comes.
Good run coming up.
Bucknam switches to the inside run. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hang on to it, Ted.
Oh, he's going way too deep. Way too deep.
He got suckered in, boys.
He did. He was watching his mirrors there and watching Jeff sort of like move around in his side view mirrors. Just missed his braking point just a little bit.
Now this looks good if you're in a sprint car, even though it's going the wrong direction.
That's how I used to do Trans Am cars, just like this. Wee-haw! Little throttle oversteer right there, but it did cost him time.
Hey, race leaders on pit road.
Well, as we suspected, they're going to need to top up on fuel here. Should be a time stop. They shouldn't need a full fuel load with 42 minutes, Chris.
Yeah, real quick stock there for Scott Maxwell. Just a little sip of fuel. And I think we're going to start seeing some of the other cars running up at the front. Matt Plum is also going to have to come back to pit lane. One car I do know that doesn't look like it's going to have to come back to pit lane is Jordan Taylor. He's well back in the field, but as cars start coming in, he should start moving forward.
Adam Burrows shares the number 12 Kia with Trevor Hopwood. Both Trevor and teammate Andy Lally are having good runs out there today, Adam. This Kia seems to improve every weekend. What is it that's making it stronger and stronger?
Well, there's no question this Forte Coupe is a fantastic platform for us. The Kinetic guys have been doing incredible development work on this car, and it's been getting better and better every race. When we had a big jump in Barber, when they popped the car off the truck this weekend, it has been spot on, and just a great car to drive. Trevor and I have driven a number of different cars through our history here in Continental Tire, and this car really has a lot of qualities of our, favorite qualities of a lot of those cars.
If it needed one more thing, what is it that's at the top of your wish list?
Is any race car driver not going to say horsepower? We could definitely use a few more horsepower in the car. We're getting close. The development work's been very good. We're just seeing to be on the cusp. Track like this really tough for us because the straightaways are so long. You know, we can get up behind another car, but we can't really draft by him to get ourselves positioned for the braking zone. But a little bit more horsepower would definitely help us out a lot.
Andy in the top 10 right now. I know you guys are knocking on the door. What would it mean to this team to walk out of here with both cars in the top 10?
It would really say a lot about the reliability of these Kias. Trevor and I have had a great record so far this season. We've finished every race, and to have both cars in the top 10 finishing the race is really a testament to the reliability of these cars.
It's been impressive to watch the development since the beginning of the years, guys, and they have taken huge strides, not only in the performance, but in the reliability as well.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, the driver's set is one of the best braking and handling cars out there. They've got a new airbox and exhaust here this weekend. And on the 12 car, they had a different toe link on the toe on the rear of the car, on the 10 car at the last round, and really made a big difference to the handling. Now these guys have it, allows it to rotate into the corners and gives it a much better balance. So the guys are very happy. And of course, these two boys had 2 podiums here at VIR in the past.
You know, when you get a new race car and you build it with a new team, there's always a lot of things to learn. But when you get a new race car that's never, ever been raced by anyone in the world, because it's a brand new car, then you are the developmental platform. I mean, you are making it up as you go, if you will. And that's what these guys are up against.
Kia has been involved in some other forms of racing, but this is the first serious entree into road racing in North America. Here is Matt Plum in the Rum-Bum BMW, starting to zero in on Jeff Bucknam. So this is the fight for the top spot. Remember, the 15 came in and had to pit. Maxwell had to come in. So now the fight is on between Chevy Camaro and BMW.
This is the first lap Chevy Camaro has been able to lead in the series so far this year. So they finally made it to the front.
Well, this is another car that's gone through a serious amount of development. Talking to the team this weekend, they've done 6 days of testing in April alone. They've got a weight reduction once again. They had 75 pounds taken off earlier in the season, a further 50 here. They've got a much lighter weight clutch on the car, and they're just really working through it and getting to the bottom of what this car needs. So great to see those colors out front. Sensational livery.
And that clutch was a real Achilles heel early in this season for the car, and it's more of a racing spec clutch, if you wish, rather than more like a production one. And this is the Ted Anthony replay where Ted just went a little wide.
Yeah, he just got in there probably a couple of car lengths too deep, and then from there you're just hanging on.
That was classic, though. Jeff Bucknam set that up, moving from the outside to the inside, made him look in his rearview mirrors and forget about the brake zone impending.
There's a question about whether car number 6 has enough fuel to get to the end. So too car 13 as 19 gets spun around, and that's Brad Adam. He gets pushed around and facing the wrong way. But if you go down the list, the car that looks like it could be the one is the sister Camaro. The least amount of laps on it, and so too the BMW of Joey Hand. Well, we see Hugh Plum and Hand coming through. The hottest online source for vehicles up for sale is On Speed. You can watch it. Coparts sold in seconds. This is a live show Tuesdays at 12 Eastern. From parts to perfect, see the cars and meet the owners on Coparts sold in seconds. Here is your overall leader, Jeff Bucknam. He's got just under 2.5 seconds on Matt Plum in the VIR 200. Remember, Matt Plum and Gian Baccardi won the season opener, the Fresh from Florida 200 in Daytona. And Baccardi qualified the car 24th, brought it up a little further, made up about 10 positions or so before handing it over. Jeff Bucknam, off goes the racer's edge Mustang.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. It was almost like you looked in the rearview mirror, saw the 6 coming, and said, I'll move over, not realizing there was no moving over.
Not quite the run that they were hoping for. Manuel Gutierrez is down in 21st position. Jade Buford had got that car up into the top 10 in a really promising opening run. And yeah, Manuel's back on track and going again. I guess he had an exaggerated way of getting out of the way.
These guys going at it big time between a couple of Porsches, 44 and 83 there.
Guy Cosmo Craig Stanton.
This is a great run here. They're really going after it. Lee Keane behind the wheel of the 44 machine, being chased there by Guy Cosmo.
That is using it up, boys. I tell you what, that's all there is.
That came and they said it's got great potential in terms of the layout of that car, where the engine is positioned and everything else, but the rear suspension they still feel needs a little bit of work. It's almost like the front suspension is tagged on the rear, but watch these guys hop through these curves there in the high-speed S's.
That's why I love this place. Watch these guys just fling them in here.
So it's Bucknam, Plum, 1-2. There it is. Next one to pop over the hill. There it is, the green and white Magnus Porsche of Lee Keane, then Guy Cosmo, Craig Stanton, top 5. Ted Anthony has recovered to be in 6th. Billy Johnson is 7th for Roush. Then Dean Martin, Spencer Pumpelly, and Barry Waddell.
And guys, as good as the 44 is running, John Potter and Lee Keane doing a great job in that car today. It will need fuel before the end of this race, so it'll be interesting to see who can play the card game, who can save the fuel, and who's going to have to make one more stop.
Well, that's going to be tough for those boys, but still, nonetheless, they're showing good pace here, and gradually that Cayman is coming alive. Starting to feel the heat here from Guy Cosmo. Guy said, you know what, we haven't got the results we look for this year, but once we get into the thick of a green flag run, he said, my car's as quick as anything else out there, and he's showing it right now.
An update of something that has just gone down with one of our top 3 in ST, and this involves Andrew Carbonell in the Freedom Autosport Mazda. Listen.
Oops. Something broke. There's a snap, big hard crunch. And that's a driveline failure. I don't think engine. I think what you heard right there was something in the gear train blowing up.
And there's a double whammy today for Freedom Autosport. They run 4 cars, 2 MX-5, 2 Speed 3, and both MX-5s are out of the race. These guys relentless.
Lee Keane, Guy Cosmo putting on the show for the fans, let me tell you what.
This is for a top 3 position with just over half an hour remaining.
Guy Cosmo's Porsche still has the 3.6 litre motor in that. It is allowed to have a 3.8. The team feels it's not really got the budget right now to upgrade to the bigger motor, so potentially losing a few horsepower certainly, and a little bit of lap time because of that.
And those 3.8 motors, those engines were built by Porsche just last week, so it didn't give teams a lot of time to deal with the replacement anyway.
As we went to the break, we said as you go down the order, the guys who are looking good on fuel, Hugh Plum and Joey Hand. Joey Hand has just got by Hugh Plum, so Hand has moved the BMW up into 11th position. Barry Waddell is the next one on his list in the automatic entry, and then Spencer Pumpelly for TRG in the 41. So there's lots of movement. There is a lot going to happen in this final half an hour based on fuel.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think, like the top 10 probably are going to be struggling here to make it to the finish unless we see an extended caution period. I think the first guy who I think will be good without any help from caution will be Joey Hand, who's currently 11th. I think everyone else in front of him, the top 10, will probably see pit lane one more time.
In ST, it's still a Compass 360 1-2. Ryan Eversley, Lawson Aschenbach. Let's go to the TRG pit.
Spencer Pumpelly in, taking a splash of fuel, no tires on this Porsche. Having a reasonable run today in 10th right now as he came to pit road, but as Calvin said, the top 10 guys, it looks like all of them either guessed wrong or bet on strategy that didn't work out. It didn't get that late race caution. He unplugs. Right now, Pumpelly back underway.
Well, the AXA, the sister AXA car, as we go up the hill one more time. That's Lee Keane, leaping Lee Keane.
He'll be on a bicycle soon.
Yeah, these guys are flying these Porsches around here. That's just great stuff.
He's just taking more and more of that curve.
Yeah. How much can you get away with before the curve gets you back?
The lead has been shaved to 1.4 seconds. Matt Plum is starting to close in. Woo. Pushing the limits here at VIR. Just a little over 26 minutes remain here at VIR for the VIR 200. Who's got enough fuel to go all the way? Well, they're starting to fall out of the top 10 as quick as you like. The 44 of Lee Keane, who was so entertaining. It's come time where the tank has run dry. He's had to come in. So he eliminates himself from the top 10 for the time being. Jeff Bucknam in the 6 Sunoco Camaro for Stevenson Motorsports still leads the way over the run-bum BMW of Matt Plum. These guys are really putting in some good times, good hard racing. There's nothing between them. Guy Cosmo has been elevated to 3rd because Lee Keane has come in. Stanton to 4th. And Billy Johnson has worked his way into the 5, but I don't think he's got enough fuel to go all the way.
No, I really don't think the top 7 cars right now can make it on fuel, unless we see some caution here to get them to the finish. So got to have to, oh, Cosmo.
He kept it out of the fence, but cost a lot of time.
That's Oak Tree.
Sure was.
He's still flat out.
And that's his teammate, Craig Stanton, who goes on by to take over that top spot. Stanton has been out there a long time too. Some 32 laps ago he pitted, so he's going to be in need of fuel.
Lee Keane, who was right in the thick of this battle just a few moments ago, made a pit stop for a splash also. There we see it coming into...
See, it's so easy to miss your break in there, carry too much speed, get out in the dirt. Does a good job here of reading the wall and just keeping it all together mentally.
Well, you guys were talking about the fuel situation, and I talked to John Teesey from BGB, and he said right now Guy Cosmo is going to need at least 4 laps of caution to be able to stay out there. So unless we see that caution coming out soon, Guy Cosmo is going to have to bring it back to pit lane, at least for fuel. But since he went off the racetrack, it sounds like he might have to come back to pit lane if those radiators are filled with all the grass we typically see getting in radiators here at VIR.
Well, he almost made one of the cautions himself. Luckily for him, he was out there in the dirty area, but not in the grassy area. So he's got a clean radiator, and he can just go on.
We've seen plenty of GS. Let's take a look at ST. And the Orange Mobiles are still powering on. What a great team effort. Ryan Eversley, Lawson Aschenbach, first and second for Compass 360. Seth Thomas, incidentally, for Bimmelworld, has moved his way up into the top 3, trying to chase these guys down.
But we think these 2 team cars are running like that on purpose for fuel economy purposes. I think they're going to have to, both of them, come in.
Yeah, well, certainly the number I got from one of the drivers was an hour 20, and Chris checked in with the team there, and they said, no, at this racetrack, as much full throttle as we have here, our window is about an hour 5, so they're certainly going to be shy of making it to the checkered flag here again unless we see some caution. So they're going to have to backpedal a little bit. And as you say, Dorsey, running in tandem here, they may be able to save a little bit of fuel, but they need a big chunk, I think.
And guess who's got 4 laps more fuel than these guys? Is the man running in third, Seth Thomas. It's been a very eventful weekend for Bimmerworld. They trashed a car earlier in the week with a massive accident. Remember, this is their first year running in Continental competition in Grand Am. And they've been close, they've been hunting. They haven't quite got the results they wanted, but Bimmerworld has shown what an experienced racing outfit they are. So look out for the 81 of Seth Thomas coming through. Here is the championship leader in GS, Terry Borcello, in his 4-line BMW after taking over from Andrew Hendricks. At the moment, not so good for the championship leader. He's in 12th, but how many more ahead of him will drop out?
Yeah, I think a good chunk of these guys in front of them will have to stop in pit lane. The question is, what sort of gap will they have on Terry Borcello? So how far can he get towards the front of the pack? Certainly in a recovery mode here. They have not been towards the front of the pack all day long, but just he and Jim Bell, who's calling the strategy for Terry, will just try and work their magic and somehow get Terry back in the big points today.
Terry told me this car is really coming on. He's worked with Jim Bell for so many years now. They really kind of on the same page, if you will. And he said the car has really come on. It's fun to drive.
Yeah, they debuted here last year to good effect, scoring a second-place finish. And he certainly said by doing that last year, it gave us great experience and getting a few more races under our belt. We're really in great shape now. We know how this car ticks, and it's really come into its own.
Just checked in with the Bimmerworld team, and Seth Thomas, they said, you know, he should be good to go. That our calculations are it's going to be close. The 81 should be good to go. And Lee, you talked about the car, the 80 car that had so much damage to it the other day. They borrowed a car and came and ran. But I talked to James Clay, and he said the reason they have the success here is because of their experience with the BMW and other series, and they have been so impressive since the very first race where they showed up. And right now, Seth Thomas putting on an impressive run. And it looks like the fuel mileage may actually get them to the checkered flag.
And it was a very generous gesture, we should say, from a gentleman by the name of Barry Battle, who used to be, at one point in time, the co-owner of Bimmerworld. He now runs RRT Racing, and he provided a car for the Bimmerworld boys. So well done. Here's the third place car of Seth Thomas we're talking about. Is this the potentially winning car?
Well, they're in great shape in the championship right now. They sit in second place, 10 points behind David Tillenius and Lawson Aschenbach. So if those cars in front of them do make a pit stop, they'll be in the catbird seat.
Up front, you haven't missed anything. Bucknam still leads Matt Plum just by a smidge over a second. Stanton still third. Cosmo has regrouped to be fourth. Billy Johnson fifth. Dean Martin, Barry Waddell, and then perhaps the car that's in the best shape, the 97 BMW of Joey Han and Michael Marcel, overcoming some early race dramas and a bit of damage on the car to be in a very strong position with 20 minutes remaining. We're going to leave VIR momentarily, and still the question hangs. Who's got enough to go to the checkered flag? Fighting hard for every position, the 48 four-line BMW of Charles Espinlau executes a move on the 15, the former race leader in Scott Maxwell. That was for 10th. But by the time things shuffle out over the next 18 minutes or so, how's it going to look then?
These cars are pitted, so obviously as the ones in front start coming in and taking that splash, they're going to move up, so they're fighting hard for what could be, you don't know, a win.
Let's give you an overview of the year so far for the 15 Multimatic Boss 302 Mustang. It's looked so promising, but then the results haven't quite been there that the Multimatic boys and the former champions are used to. However, with that being said, it's a pretty steep development curve on this Boss 302 Mustang. So to be as competitive as it is right now has been a huge accomplishment, and that's credit to the guys at Ford, the production engineers, the FRT, Ford Racing Technology engineers, and also everyone who works hard at Multimatic.
Yeah, they've in fact led the last 3 races, including the one here today, so the car is extremely fast, but just can't seem to catch a break when it comes to really calling the right shots here. Today looked like they were going by textbook style, but again, some other people went in a different direction. It looks like they're going to finish ahead. This is Joey Hand, who currently is sitting in the 5th spot, and looking at everyone's amount of laps on the board right now, Joey has about a 15-lap advantage over the 4th place car of Dean Martin, the 52 machine. And I'd have to think that of the runners out there right now, Joey is the first car in line that does not need a pit stop. Everyone ahead of him probably does.
This has been a wonderful venue for Turner Motorsport. Back in 06, they won the GS title in Continental Challenge. In 06 and 07, they clinched the ST title here, back-to-back years. And in 2007, Bill Auberlin won the GS race. So this team from Boston has enjoyed a lot of success here in Virginia.
Just gradually getting to grips with this E92. Of course, they went to the E92 a lot later than the 4-line Motorsports team did, so they're learning the way, and Joey just got his hands on this a couple of races ago, so he's very excited to now have 8 cylinders underneath that hood instead of 6, and again, strutting his stuff. He and his teammate currently sit tied for 3rd in the championship with 2 podiums to their name already.
Should be in good shape. I think, like you said, Calvin, in the next 14 minutes, there's going to be, oh, now here's something.
Oh.
This car, look, there's no rear window, Calvin. The rear window is busted out of that, so something, you would assume something pretty big has happened there.
Greg LaFouge for Compass 360.
Look at the guardrail.
Yeah.
Look at the guardrail here.
Yeah,
I suspect that car went up onto its roof side to break that rear window.
And ironically, 2 of the cars that may be able to take advantage if there is a caution are 2 Compass 360 machines that lead ST.
Watch this.
This one of the Kinetic Kias. Oh. Something has happened there big time. Those 2 cars came together. I didn't see which Kia it was exactly.
Oof. Big side impact, driver's side. You can tell just by that guardrail. Driver's out, that's good news.
You can see him huffing and puffing there. Yeah. He had a big impact there. That's right at the high-speed section, the fastest part of the racetrack, coming up towards turn 14. And I think they must have got together and probably went straight across the bow of the other car. You'd have to assume.
When you see a tire wall cushioning a guardrail and the guardrail pushed back that far, you know the impact was a big one. And that side impact without the Hans device was one of the most lethal things we used to have to encounter as a driver. Now with the Hans device, that has saved a lot of drivers since its inception.
And you may have seen recently on Wind Tunnel, Dr. Bob Hubbard, the co-founder of the Hans device, on the tunnel. And what a marvelous invention.
This guy's done a tremendous job. Jeff Bucknam at the front of this field. I have to wonder about Matt Plum. He had that contact there with the Mustang, and since that time he seems to have lost a little bit of pace. Either Joe Vardy is saying save fuel, the guy in front of you is going to run out. Either that, or maybe he tweaked the suspension, and he certainly got that rear balance that's sort of like costing him a little bit of straight line speed, you'd assume, Dorsey, like a little parachute there off to the left rear corner.
But like you said, he was right on the back end of Jeff Bucknam before. So it could be a fuel strategy situation. I'm not sure. This is a good battle on the other hand.
And remember the storyline. One of the storylines coming into this round, 3 from 3. 3 different winners from the 3 races thus far. It was the Rum Bum BMW to kick things off at Daytona, and then we've had a couple of Mustangs enjoy victory. The Roush Performance Mustang won at Homestead Miami Speedway, and then it was Bob McHaley and Dean Martin for Rehagen Racing to win at the most recent round at Barber. Are we going to see this trend continue? It could likely happen.
I'll tell you what, these front runners have got to be on fumes. I just can't believe that they're going to be able to stretch it much further.
Well, Scott Maxwell there in the orange number 15 Mustang. You know, these guys are fighting out. This guy Cosmo behind him in the Porsche. And I agree with you, Calvin. The guys in front of them are going to have to come in. I sure think so.
Dorse, we're hearing word from pit lane. We're expecting the 6 and the 99 is in. 6 is already in. So race leader Jeff Bucknam, here he is for Stevenson Motorsports.
Disappointing for this team, but pleasing from the standpoint that the Camaro ran so well this weekend. Remember, they got some brakes, car running a little bit better, got the ability to lose a little bit of weight, get a little bit of horsepower back, and they've used it to their advantage. But today, just about 4 laps is what they were short. They had to fill it with fuel, and they're back in the race.
It seemed like a lot
of... Roush is in too. The 61 car is pit lane, so gradually the dominoes are starting to fall. Chris.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening now, Calvin. 61's in. They felt like they needed about 10 minutes of caution to get to the end. They obviously didn't get that, so a little gulp of fuel there, and Billy Johnson's back out.
Boy, it seemed like Bucknam took a lot of fuel for what little time left in this race. Yeah,
pretty lengthy. That should have been a very short splash there. 52 on pit lane as well. So once this cycle, where is Joey Hand in relationship to these leaders?
Moved up to 3rd on the road. This is Dean Martin, our last round winner. He is serviced and sent. And we'll wait for it to cycle through, but this is proving to be very interesting.
The key is, has Joe Vardy been able to get on that radio and coach Matt Plum through these final laps of this race to the point of saving enough fuel?
Calvin, I checked in with Joe Vardy about 10 minutes ago, and he said he didn't think that they were going to make it either. So I think if you had to put your chips on the table, I think just about everybody down here in pit lane is going to put them on Joey Hand.
The 97 Turner Motorsport V8 powered BMW. Is it looking good? It's BMW at the moment. Will it stay that way? With 10.5 minutes remaining at VIR. This was like the 6 hour. It came right down to the wire with a close result and a gripping finish.
Well, there we see Joey Hand going down the back straightaway. And there is the number 6 car. So there was a change of position there. So if Matt Plum does pit, that will then put Joey Hand at the front of this field.
Still be a very encouraging result for the Sunoco Camaro. Everyone wants to win, but this is a big step in the right direction for those new cars. We'll be back. The closing stages of the VIR 200 here at Virginia International Raceway. And top 2 cars in the ST class on screen right now, with 3rd place Seth Thomas not too far behind Eversley and Aschenbach. So this will be an exciting finish. Let's get an update on the Compass 360 boys.
Well, those two boys out there are doing everything they can to save fuel. They're short shifting, they're drafting all the way around the racetrack. Now, one of the issues with those cars is there's no fuel alarm in there. So talking with Carl Thompson, he said, you know, I'm worried that we're going to run out of gas, but the big issue is if they run out of gas, wait till the car stumbles down in turn 1. Those cars might not make it all the way around.
And here is the 81 of Seth Thomas looming large in the background.
Well, he's got a bit more fuel on board than these guys, so if they're slowing down, he might be able to take the lead without them hitting pit lane.
He's going to push them to run those cars as hard as they can, try to run them out of fuel. That and or just pass them, like you said, Calvin. It's going to happen pretty soon, whatever's going to happen, I can tell you that much.
Well, running this series this year is certainly new for this team in terms of doing pit stops on a regular basis. The Bimmerworld team has come over from the World Challenge Series where they had a lot of success there, but in the past they've also run the 13-hour endurance event here at VIR, not sanctioned by Grand Am, but certainly given them great experience in doing a bunch of laps here at VIR and getting their pit stops together. So they came into this season pretty confident that they'd learned the game pretty quick.
We told you that we would tell you where things stood as we went to the commercial break, cycling through those pit stops. Joey Hand is the race leader to the tune of 4.5 seconds over Jeff Bucknam, and then Matt Plum in the Bimmerworld, in the Rum Bum BMW, ahead of Billy Johnson in the Roush car. That's a terrific comeback, and Charles Espenlaub in 5th. But there's the 4.5 seconds. And keep in mind, this car here, car number 6, started in 30th position. What a race by the Sunoco Camaro. In fact, our top three all started in pretty challenging grid spots. The 97 was 13th, the 6 started 30th, and the Rum Bum car started in 24th. So you can come to the front from a lower grid position in Continental Racing. Brian?
I was down here in the Turner Motorsports camp talking to Will Turner, and he said, if we hold on to win this race, you got to give credit to Don Salama because he is the one that called the strategy. If we hold on and win this, he has earned his keep in drinks. I said, what if you don't hold on and win it? He said, well, then we'll kill him.
And you may see Will Turner and Don Salama climb behind the wheel later in the season. Salami, as Will Turner likes to call Don affectionately, still drives very quickly. He's got a lot of history in Continental sports car racing and will be a great addition, well, on top of what he does already, calling strategy to the Turner team. So we hope we see those guys back in driving overall soon.
Maybe as early as the next round at Lime Rock. That's their home track, of course. They'd love to get out there in front of their hometown fans and put on a show, probably in an ST car, not a GS car.
These guys have put on a show. Gian Baccardi and Matt Plum, the Rum Bum boys, are back. We're used to seeing them at the front of the field in 2010 Continental Tire Racing, and they are back. They're on the podium. BMWs 1 and 3, Camaro sandwiched in the middle.
And with 4 minutes to go, something has got to happen here because the Camaro's not that far back. I mean, any little mistake, and it's going to be there to pounce. Yet Joey Hand doesn't make a lot of unpressed mistakes.
Dorse, I know that you are because of your era and your heritage, but there's a lot of excitement about seeing the muscle cars back in this category. The big V8s and the high-powered cars in GS racing. And this is going to be great. I mean, we couldn't ask for more variety. We're going to have 4 different winners if Joey Hand can stay here from the first 4 races.
Well, it's good to see that the Camaro, the Mustang's been competitive all along from last year on, but it's good to see the Camaro be finally able to go up front here and run with the likes of BMW, with the likes of Mustang and Ford. You know, it's what the fans want. There's no question about it because the cars look good.
We hear an update that the 74 may have just stumbled, maybe running out of fuel. The 74 is the championship leader in ST, Lawson Aschenbach, and there it is. It has dropped somewhat back into the clutches of Seth Thomas.
Seth Thomas may be on fuel preservation too because he was really coming, putting the heat on these 2 Hondas, but he's dropped back a little bit. So maybe he's getting the call from his team strategist in terms of how much fuel he's got left to burn as well. This is going to be awfully tight here. 2 more laps probably to go.
Yeah, if it stumbled, he's going to have to make a pit stop. You're not going to be able to make 2 laps, I don't think.
What's going to be a key for these ST cars is when the GS car gets that white flag. How they cross the stripe will have an effect on this class too in their relationship to the overall leader. Remember, the time of the race is based on the overall leader, not the ST class.
Overall leaders should get white flag this time by when they get to it.
And that running order is this man here on screen. Joey Hand, then Jeff Bucknam, Matt Plum, Espenlaub, Johnson. Borchella, the championship leader in GS, is 6th. That's going to be a good result considering where that car was. Maxwell, Cosmo, Dean Martin, Lee Keane in the top 10. So the run down the back stretch, this time by Joey Hand, should see that white flag indicating 1 more lap to go.
Got to give a shout out to Joey's teammate too. Michael Marsala has certainly done a tremendous job. He doesn't have the experience a lot of these guys in the cars currently, but Joey said, man, he really is a brave driver. He can get the job done. M&M, as they affectionately call him, on the team.
And the 74 is on pit road. Lawson Aschenbach is in, Chris.
Yeah, he's in. He's just going to take a little bit of fuel, but the big question is, the 74 couldn't make it. Can the 75? And when at start finish right now, white flag is out, guys. White flag is out. Can that 75 car make it?
Well, you got to wonder. I mean, it's sitting back there drafting, so it picked up a little, Calvin, but that's a lot to pick up 2 laps.
Yeah, they're going to be really biting their fingernails here. Here it is, the 75 car. Ryan Eversley behind the wheel has about a 2-second lead over Seth Thomas that you can see just there in the background. The blue and white Bimmerwald BMW, which has done a tremendous job here today as well. But you'd have to put your money on the BMW right now. I haven't seen the sister car just make a pit stop.
75 is coming off a podium at Barber Motorsports Park. The 81 has already seen the podium this year. Seth Thomas gets a little sideways. He is trying hard to get that first victory in 2010. Chris?
Well, I'm hearing from the team, the 75 just stumbled, guys. The 75 just stumbled on the racetrack.
No, and he right now is losing a little bit of speed. Here comes Seth Thomas.
What they need is for Joey Hand suddenly to appear and overtake both these guys and grab the checkered flag. That's their only hope. I think Joey's too far behind them. These guys left to complete this lap and one more.
That will kill him. If it's stumbling, that's just almost too much to ask.
This could be a mega day for BMW in both classes at VIR.
And I'll tell you what, if this car does stumble, the Kia boys are going to be awful happy too, because they're going to inherit probably a podium finish.
Oh, Joey is so close to getting there. This is going to be agonizing for the Compass 360 boys, but he is too far back. That car will have to do another lap. There is less than half a lap to run for Joey Hand and Michael Marcel. And this happy hunting ground, this racing venue that's been so kind to Turner Motorsport, continues to be so.
Stayed out, 75 cars, stays out, takes that white flag. Will he have enough left as Joey Hand completes the final few turns here?
Super performance. And there's Don Salama, Will Turner saying, this man here, he's the one who called the strategy and got us to victory lane. Final corner, final time. Joey Hand, and a rather second-hand looking BMW from the back, goes to victory lane. How about that? 4 different winners from the first 4 races. BMW all the way at VIR. There's Michael Marcel, Don Salama and Will Turner and the Turner Motorsport gang. Superb team performance.
Awesome job by Joey, but in ST, that one is still going down to the wire here. We're going to have to wait and see. Can that Honda, Ryan Eversley, hang on for the win? Great job by Joey Hand here today.
Bucknam come across the line to get second. Matt Plum will get third. 2 BMWs on the podium. Here is Ryan Eversley. Where is the BMW, the Bimmerweld machine? There it is.
Maybe he's running out of fuel.
Wow, we didn't think that was going to happen, if that was in case what did happen. 75 still running, he's not but a half a lap away.
There's 4 laps.
Oh, you hear it
on
there.
The fuel.
I think I heard a bobble there, Dorsey. Heard a bobble by someone. Didn't sound like it was running strong.
This could be a coast to the line win.
That sounds offside, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Oh no, maybe it's the Mustang.
The Mustangs.
Everybody's running. Everyone's running out. 75 looks good. He can get up to the top of this hill. He can maybe cruise to the finish line.
That's what I say. They might coast at home, both of them, if they can clear that uphill.
He's still got power. 75 looks good. BMW is dropping back.
Josh Hurley is in third, but he is too far back to get Seth Thomas unless Seth comes to a stop out on track. Final few turns for the Compass 360 boys. They kicked the season off in the best possible way, but it was the sister car of David Telenius and Lawson Aschenbach who went to victory lane at Daytona. The Orange Mobile is going to do it again. Here comes the Compass 360 Honda, and Carl Thompson and the team will be thrilled. How about that? Zach Lutz, Ryan Eversley, they finally made it. They had enough to get there. Woo! And the team breathes a collective sigh of relief. Speed's coverage of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is presented by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. And brought to you in part by the Kia Forte Coupe. It's one hot ride. There's nothing like a winner or that winning feeling, and that's what they have at Turner Motorsport, Brian.
And Turner Motorsport has certainly felt the winning feeling before, but for Michael Marcel, it's his first victory in Continental Tire Series. And Joey Hand, for you, a spectacular drive. Everybody also was on fuel conservation, but I think Salami, he had the strategy today.
It was the big Salama that got us on the strategy. But, you know, this Turner guys are great. Turner Motorsport, BMW M3, it was stellar here. We love VIR, it seems. Alvarez and Marcel on the hood. It was a great day. I think we want to keep this rolling. I think we're up. This moves us up in the points. I think it's going to be a good day. Everybody, I'm going to be answering the phones on Monday at Turner Motorsport, so if you want to call me directly and order something, it'd be cool. I'll talk to you on the phone.
In this car, not too pretty. The whole bumper's gone off the back, but it doesn't have to be pretty to win, and they proved it.
And it certainly wasn't Joey Hand's first win, but it was for young Michael Marcel, so well done. How about that Sunoco Camaro on the podium, and the Rum Bum boys back up there as well, and second win of the season for Compass 360, but the first for Ryan Eversley and Zach Lutz, Chris. Great stuff.
Yeah, the pair was third at Barber, and now they get a win at VIR. Ryan, you saw the sister car, the 74, run out of fuel with you. How nervous were you those last couple laps?
We were short shifting the whole time trying to save fuel. We didn't have the outright pace as everyone else, but we had really good handling cars. Ray and Carl gave us such good stuff at Compass 360. It was just like you said, as soon as we saw the sister car run out, we started short shifting, and guys on the radio were like, save fuel, save fuel. Saw the Beamer World coming, which was really fast, and that was hard, but we just had a great job, and JC Concrete helps us out so much, and Zach Lutz is just like Rookie of the Year contender right here, so thanks for everything. Good job, man.
Well, they saved enough, and they got it to victory lane.
Didn't they what? And it makes the championship points look a little interesting, doesn't it? 6 points the margin between the Compass 360 boys, Telenius and Aschenbach, from Bill Human, Seth Thomas. That car just made the line before it ran out of fuel, and Hurley and Statlander in the third position. And there you see Espenlaub, 1 point between the four-line teammates. Just 1 point in it. We've got a new championship leader there. And as Joey Hand said, he and Michael Marsal are right in the running. This is a gripping championship. We're only 4 rounds into it. Bring on the next one, I say. We look forward to it. And that will be from Watkins Glen International. This is one of the best championships around.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, there's action all day long. And look at these cars fly through the S's here. Action all of the way.
Congratulations to Camaro and Kia. 2 big hurdles made today.
Certainly was. And spare a thought for Todd Buras in the Irish Mike's car. That one there, he got taken to a local medical facility. We hope that he is okay. This was a spectacular race in many ways. It's what we've come to expect from Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Racing. We'll see you next time round from Watkins Glen.